Today, we're here with our VACo Premier Partner, OneDigital. OneDigital is a leading insurance, financial services, and HR consulting advisory firm with a holistic approach to creating environments that enable people to do their best work and live their best lives. I'd like to welcome Sarah Struckmann and Matt Hedley with us today. Sarah and Matt, give us a little introduction about OneDigital and tell me a little bit about each of you. Sarah, we'll start off with you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Dean. We are absolutely thrilled to be here, not only getting to chat with you today, but as you mentioned, being a VACo Premier Partner. VACo is one of our favorite organizations, and you did a great job introducing OneDigital.
Well, we're proud to have you guys as partners. We really are.
OneDigital is very different from a lot of the brokerage firms that you typically see because, as Matt and I were talking yesterday with some superintendents, we are a one-stop shop for employee benefits, retirement, and HR solutions. And we are evolving very, very quickly. We equate it to being on a rocket ship. So we have several different departments to assist counties. And just to back up quickly, Matt and I work in the public sector. So that is really where my heart is. That's where I started out as a school psychologist, and I also worked in the public sector as a social worker. And so it was just very natural to help folks with insurance and pointing them with the great resources of OneDigital. And as you mentioned, Dean, we are a provider of health and benefits, retirement. We also do HR consulting. We have a plethora of resources. We even have our own stop-loss center of excellence. And we bought a pharmaceutical company about 5 years ago. So we really are a great resource for localities.
Yeah, no, thank you, Dean. I'm happy to be here as well. I think, like Sarah mentioned, we do have a lot of value and resources to bring to your counties and school systems and administrators who are carrying out this work for all the employees. I do think what makes us special with being so focused on the public sector is that there's a real passion behind what we do. Your folks, for the most part, are very much mission based, and I think that's what Sarah and I really appreciate the opportunity working with the schools. Sarah was a former counselor. I come from a long list of educators in my family. And so my wife works in a school. So I just think pairing the fact that we're very much mission based allows us to do even greater work.
Sarah and Matt, both of you all mentioned, what all OneDigital has to offer. How many employees do you have? And are you all at your home base right now? Where is your home base?
Well, so we're sitting in our Richmond office, which is sort of a hub, if you will, in Virginia. We are close to 4,000 employees, all OneDigital. Corporate headquarters is Atlanta. My retirement headquarters is actually Kansas City. But, for the most part, yes, Atlanta is headquarters. However, we do have a fairly large office here in Richmond, Virginia.
Well, let me ask you, since you're a nationwide company, are you working with many counties throughout the country, or are you just focusing on Virginia? Or, I know you all are probably Sarah's just probably focusing on Virginia, but tell me a little bit about the breadth of your all's services nationwide.
Absolutely. So as you said, Dean, we are a national company, which is very exciting. And we do have a very strong footprint in public sector, not only in Virginia, but very much in Colorado, which is where I'm from originally, and Florida. We have the privilege of working with many counties in Florida. In fact, we work with Orange County, where Disney World is located.
Okay. Wow. Great. 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 Well, I have a few questions, that I'd really like to jump into, if you don't mind.
Great.
Sarah, I guess we'll start with you. And can you mention, looking at Virginia's counties, what are the top priorities you're seeing for our counties in the Commonwealth?
Dean, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. One of the biggest trends that we are hearing is, of course, employee attraction, retention, especially in public safety, public works. That is something that we have worked hard at OneDigital to develop some creative strategies to negate that and to assist counties. We're also seeing, and I'm sure you're very aware of this as well, is the topic of collective bargaining. That is coming down the pipeline. It's coming fast. It's already hitting some of our localities. We work with one of them today in the Northern Virginia region, and that is something that we are preparing for and that we would like to assist and be used as a resource, because we do anticipate that to be somewhat costly and to be taking up an exorbitant amount of time.
Sarah, we are, here in Virginia, we are seeing collective bargaining taking steps, in Northern Virginia. And I just wondered how prevalent is that? Do you see that across the state, or is it just focused right now in the Northern Virginia area?
We are definitely hearing it. It is the buzzword of the moment.
Okay.
We're hearing it more with the larger localities. It's been prevalent in the Northeast for many years. And so I think it does make sense that it's entering us more in Northern Virginia, but some of the bigger localities throughout the state, it is very much in conversation.
Now, is this collective bargaining, is it just first responders, or is it also jumping into schools, Matt? The school teachers and that kind of thing.
We're hearing it across both of these entities.
Okay.
Schools, counties, and cities.
Okay. Now, as you mentioned that the nationwide company and the breadth of your all services nationwide, how many public sector groups are you working with right now in the Commonwealth?
Absolutely. So that's a great question. We have the pleasure of being a partner with Anthem and VACo to handle the VLDP benefit, which is a disability benefit through VACo. In that arena, we are working with over 258 public sector localities. And we are specifically a broker for about 35 public sector groups.
Now, when you mentioned VACo, I've got to shamelessly give VACo a plug, which is our insurance company. So that's good to know. Virginia.
Yay, VACo!
Risk management company. So, Sarah, how are you going to make life easier for county administrators and HR directors in the Commonwealth? In other words, if you were a county administrator or HR director, what's OneDigital going to do to make my life a whole lot easier in this arena?
That's a great question, Dean. We do that several different ways. And the first way is providing a plethora of resources. So as you mentioned, OneDigital is a national company, and we have a very deep bench of resources. So the localities that we work with and the schools really appreciate just making one phone call and being able to get very, not only wonderful customer service and the answers that they need, but for us to be able to pull from our deep benches of resources. So our pharmaceutical company, RX Connections, our stop loss center, we have in-house attorneys. We really have everything that you would need to be an extension of that locality. And what we find a lot is the HR departments, the city manager's office, there are just not enough hours in the day. And so something that we do really well is being an extension of that department and having the boots on the ground. Even though we're a national company, Matt and I are sitting right here in Richmond. Our leadership team is here in Richmond. I'm in Charlottesville. We have offices in Roanoke, all over the state. And so you're going to have that high touch and boots on the ground and follow through, which is so important.
Well, I think every county administrator, HR director appreciates that hands-on approach, and that's fantastic. Um, how is OneDigital different compared to other employee benefit firms? I mean, I know that you're different and special to us because you're a partner of ours, but beyond that, how are you different from other firms?
Sure.
Yeah, I think I could take a stab at that. I recently, and by recently, 7.5 months ago, joined OneDigital through an acquisition. I had a portfolio of retirement clients, school systems, educators, for-profit businesses, and looked to OneDigital as an incredible partner to go to the next level with what we were hearing from clients. More resources, more energy, more marketing, more data crunching, everything that helps deliver a better experience to the end user, which in my world, managing retirement benefits is the investor, right? The participant in the retirement plan itself. But what makes OneDigital special is through that this process, which was growth by acquisition. So OneDigital has grown to a very big organization through acquisitions, and those acquisitions are of subspecialists. So you have this culture of folks that have really honed their craft for many, many years. So the experience level, the knowledge base is really high because you're dealing with a lot of folks, practices that are considered subspecialists.
Matt, let me follow up a little bit on that. You mentioned the experience that that OneDigital has. Every county in Virginia, we have 95 counties. All 95 counties have a different relationship experience with healthcare providers. And as a broker, OneDigital, as a broker of health services, tell me about the relationship you all have with the health insurance carriers, whether it be Anthem Blue Cross or United Healthcare or Aetna or Optima, a whole host of others. Tell me a little bit about y'all's relationship.
Awesome. Well, I'll take that one. So we work with 400,000 employees across the United States. And we are in every state right now. And as Matt stated, we grew by acquisition. And so the specialists that are working within OneDigital have had these relationships with the carriers for decades. And because of the volume of employees that we service, we have immense buying power. And it's enabled us to really carve out some special relationships. So, for example, the relationship that we have with Anthem, that we were able to partner with VACo and roll out the VLDP disability for public sector groups. That is one example. We also, not only do we work with the larger companies, the Cignas, the Anthems, the Aetnas, the Uniteds, Blue Cross, to your point, we really turn over every single stone as we are working with a client. And it's not a one size fits all. And what our clients really appreciate is the options that we give them. And so we also take a look and have relationships with some of the more boutique carriers, such as MedCost or Piedmont, which is also very well known, and they have a great track record in Virginia.
Sarah, we have several counties, some of our larger, more suburban or urban counties are self-insured,
Yes.
with their health insurance. Do you all provide, as brokers, do you provide other services for those counties that are self-insured, maybe some boutique services that they may need?
Absolutely. And that's a great question, Dean. And that brings me back to one of your first questions of what we're truly seeing out in the market right now. After COVID, more and more localities are looking at their health insurance, and they're looking at different funding strategies. And that is where self-insured falls under. And so as we're working with a group, is to Matt's point, OneDigital is very data driven. So not only do we take a holistic approach, but we also look at the numbers and we look at the data. And so we're constantly trying to determine, does this group still fit being self-insured? Does this group maybe need to be fully insured? And we're constantly running those numbers, and we have our own in-house actuarial team and our data analytic team. And actually, a lot of the folks that work at OneDigital came from the Anthems, the Aetnas, and they like to say that they're using their powers for good.
Okay.
Helping us negotiate.
Well, in Virginia, that we have most of our counties and school system employees are a part of the Virginia retirement system. And
Yes.
we have a lot of hybrid employees, what we call hybrid, the VRS calls them hybrid employees, in the system. And what does your team do to support those hybrid employees?
Yeah, it's a great question, and honestly, it's a wonderful opportunity for the state employees, whether they are falling in the Plan 1, Plan 2 hybrid through the Virginia retirement system. And I say a wonderful opportunity because it's interesting how the retirement industry dynamic is changing. The private sector over the last 30, 40 years did everything to move away from defined benefit pensions. State employees, Virginia state employees, have always had a pension, some form of it. And what's interesting is now the private sector is coming back to the fact, saying maybe guaranteed income was a good thing. Maybe a pension was a good thing. So what we do is we help educate. We help educate your educators on retirement awareness. And I think what is the most rewarding thing that we can do is sit down with an employee and lay out, here is your VRS, here is your 457 at Mission Square or wherever it may be, here's your supplemental plan, and actually be able to instill some financial confidence that you are on track. So I guess all that to say, one of the best services is being able to articulate the retirement picture, landscape for that individual, and hopefully bring a little bit of confidence.
Great, great. Matt, Sarah, let's switch over to cost. Talk a little bit about cost. How can OneDigital assist us in dealing with significant cost increases that we've all seen in the health insurance market, the health insurance world?
That's a great question, Dean. So, as I mentioned, the climate is very different than it was 5 years ago. And health insurance costs are rising. They're going to continue to rise. In fact, we just looked at some data regarding pharmaceutical drugs. And the data and some studies that we have read have projected a 50% cost increase in the next 5 years for a public sector entity. So we are really seeing these costs going up from COVID, because if you remember, when COVID first came out, the testing was free. The hospital stays were free. And so a lot of these insurance companies are trying to get above the line. And so we're seeing a lot of changes. And something that we do very well at OneDigital, because of our deep bench of resources and knowledge, is not only negotiating and, as I said, using, the powers for good with these folks that used to work for the big insurance companies and helping us find that margin, but also doing extensive data reports and looking at what is truly happening in that locality. So, is it a certain drug that is costing the rise and the high cost? Do we need to look at a different funding strategy? We dig deep, we get in the weeds, and we get boots on the ground to find a solution. And we're able to really find creative solutions that a lot of other brokerage firms are not aware of.
Sarah, I'm going to ask you I'm going to throw you a softball question here.
Sure.
Why would it help our counties to utilize an organization like OneDigital that offers benefits, retirement, and HR support instead of using different brokers or different partners for each thing that they're doing, whether it be health insurance, whether it be 457 or dental benefits, or just, a little bit of everything?
That's a great question. I think, number one, simplicity. I think every locality can agree that we are inundated with information on a daily basis. So to have that simplicity is remarkable. And I think something that's very special about OneDigital is we can do all of these pieces to the puzzle, but some of our groups enjoy starting with one piece or two pieces. And so there's really not a one size fits all, and that we're able to cover all of the bases, and at the end of the day, to make life easier for the county.
Well, and Dean, I could provide just a very specific example that came up the other day. We have a client, a school who utilizes. We're environmentally friendly in Richmond. We have our health benefits consulting team working and serving this client, as well as my retirement team. And where we really see what we call the power of one come right in front of us was from the education perspective. So we have the health insurance consulting team that had implemented various types of policies, one of them being a high deductible health plan with a health savings account. Well, the market still needs a little bit of education there. Individuals are likely to benefit from an HSA high deductible health plan, but we are talking about saving. Well, so there's retirement piece as well. So we were able to put together an educational meeting where we touched on both saving for retirement and saving for your health care. And by doing so, we obviously educated both, and we had all of our folks obviously under one roof. So we see a lot of efficiencies, simplicity coming through the education piece of it when we're out there, boots on the ground, and meeting with employees.
Matt, let's talk a little bit, if you don't mind. Let's kind of switch gears and talk a little bit about wealth and retirement, if you don't mind, and tell us a little bit about what OneDigital can do with the wealth and retirement that you haven't mentioned before.
Well, I think it goes back to your question at the same time of using the size and scale of OneDigital. We're one of the largest retirement consultants in the country, and every county, public entity, school system has some retirement plan structure, and if it hasn't been necessarily looked at too closely in some time, there's some upgrading, some updating that is available. And being one of the largest retirement consultants in the country, we do have quite a bit of buying power and partnerships with these large investment managers. And have a lot of strategies that are available at a very low cost. And so we've seen, just from a cost perspective, we're able to drive down the investment fees just because of our arrangements with some of the top managers.
Matt, I'm going to ask you an insider question, I guess you can say. What industry trends do you see within the public sector regarding retirement?
I think it is truly back to educating on what they have, on what your folks have and always have had, and that is a pension. The industry, through the two different large legislation that has come out, Secure Act in 2019, and then recently the Secure 2.0, both pieces of legislation are driving us towards better retirement outcomes, not just for the plan, but for the individual. And when you are able to deliver the opportunity for lifetime income, aka a pension, then your success in retirement goes up dramatically. The issue with the trends, I guess, would be like anything maybe in life in this economy, there's a lot of influences. And so you can easily get pulled in a few different directions, and now you're losing buying power, you're losing efficiency. And what ends up hurting at the end of the day, unfortunately, are the outcomes for the individual participant. So really drilling down and leveraging what a county may have. In fact, we just were engaged by a county in the southwest portion of the state, and we were able to identify ways to cut their costs in half, and in fact continue to leverage the wonderful VRS benefit. So I think it's really just dusting off the retirement plan and finding the efficiencies that are out there, and that would be true, I believe, in the industry as a whole.
So when you all are working with counties or consulting with counties, VRS does play a factor in your guidance, whether they're actually the employees are a Plan 1 employee or Plan 2 hybrid, or their 457 plan. That all that plays into account in your all's consulting and your guidance to our counties, correct?
That's absolutely correct. It's being knowledgeable of what's available for the folks in the state system and appropriately providing that guidance or advice. And OneDigital, for our clients, we serve as a fiduciary. So, being hired at the plan level, our service, our engagement is to deliver the best plan for the most people. And a lot of times that's clearly providing education, which is helping, fill whatever gaps may exist with the VRS system. And then at the same time, obviously cutting costs.
Matt, what is the most important guidance that you can give plan sponsors regarding retirement plan benefits?
Well, I think it's making education available, flat out. We're fortunate to be such a large firm. We have employed many CFPs, certified financial planners, as our educators. So they have a deep knowledge base around general principles of financial planning. And when working with a plan sponsor who clearly has a passion and a devotion to seeing their employees, become more financially confident, they're going to have a more productive employee, and you're going to have folks that are prepared and ready to retire on time. And you can have the best plan design in the world, the lowest cost investments of the highest quality, but at the end of the day, folks really need education, and we're very proactive when it comes to delivering. So again, it's the most noble service that we can bring, and in our opinion, it's the most impactful.
Guys, I know that you've got a big company. You work with over 4,000 some employees across the nation. And I know you work in the public sector, and you have colleagues who work in the private sector. But tell me, what's unique to the public sector versus the private sector?
Well, so again, I'll harp on the fact that I think it's very, very special that the public sector employees have a pension.
Okay.
And I think your folks are going to be a heck of a lot better off and prepared than the average private sector employee, because we do have a retirement savings crisis on our hands. Mm-hmm. And so, and your folks receive Social Security. So the odds of having a successful retirement are a heck of a lot higher in the public sector for that reason. We got to do a heck of a lot more work on the private sector to make up for that lack of pension.
Well, Matt, you mentioned I'm sorry, Sarah, were you going to say something?
Oh, I was just going to echo that. It's really cool because we actually were asked to speak about this at VAS, the Virginia Association of Superintendents, about this very thing. And it comes down, from my opinion, between private and public sector is attraction and retention. And in the public sector, unfortunately, there's a lot of pros. Obviously, I came from public sector. I love public sector. And to Matt's point, the pension. However, there is not a lot of flexibility. And I think something that we can assist with, and something that we have the understanding of how to still assist with employee attraction and retention, and to provide the limited flexibility within public sector.
Okay. Matt, go back to one of your comments. You mentioned the word crisis. And when you mentioned the word crisis, thinking of a recession pops into my mind. And a lot of experts right now around the country believe that we may be heading into a recession. Do you still think that there are opportunities for counties in trying to fend off a recession, or in dealing with certain employees who may see their investments crumbling, or something to that?
Yeah, definitely do not have a PhD in economics, so I certainly wouldn't be able to forecast where we are in terms of hitting a recession or not. However, what I can do, and our team can help, is ensure that folks are taking appropriate levels of investment risk. And we can learn from the past. And if we are headed towards a recession, which is very much likely, given where we have been and where interest rates are and likely to go up again before the end of the year, I like the way that you framed it, and that is there are opportunities. There are opportunities to take advantage of the higher rate environment. And I still think that there's a lot of room there. And so when we're building investment portfolios, and this began, 12, if not 18 months ago, is utilizing whatever funds are available that are positive in a high interest rate environment, maybe moving away from investments that don't react well in a high interest rate environment. And that all comes down to assessing investment risk, because the last thing we do want is an employee where the economy is contracting to also be looking at their 457 or 403B and seeing a 10% decline. So if we can keep it from maybe a 40%, a 30% decline, right? Just as long as the outlook is appropriate and the level of risk that's being taken is appropriate.
Guys, if you had one piece of advice to share with a county government employee right now, what would it be?
That's a great question. My advice would be, and I know it's not the most fun and interesting thing, would be to really look at your benefits and to reach out. Anybody's more than welcome to reach out to us or whoever they're working with, and just get an understanding of what their benefits are and how that best fits their family in whatever stage that they're in.
I agree. I tap into your resources that are available and seek out education. And a lot of times we get the comment, I feel as if this is a dumb question, and as we know, there are no dumb questions. And so use what is available, and if you don't, then certainly obviously reach out to OneDigital. We have a wonderful education team, so use your resources.
All right, you all have convinced me that my retirement is lacking. I need to step up and increase my 401k contribution, my 457, my 401a. I may actually need to look at an additional retirement program. So if I need to reach out and add an additional retirement program, such as a 457 or something like that, what does the timeline look like with OneDigital in doing something like that?
Well, so again, we're fortunate to work with some of the largest providers that are out there, and there are a lot of great custodians, record keepers, and it can be something within a couple months, 3 months. It truly depends, but I think to what Sarah's point was made earlier, these are wonderful ways to attract, retain, recruit, reward your top talent. So not a big undertaking.
Okay. Well, guys, Sarah, Matt, I really want to thank you for being with us and sharing information on OneDigital to all of our counties and to all, around the Commonwealth. And I'd like to let our followers and watchers know that OneDigital will be doing a series on further resources and education for members. And if our members have any pertinent topics or questions regarding retirement and financial wellness, and or health insurance, please contact Matt or Sarah. I think we have you all listed on our website, contact information, and just really want to thank you for being with us here. And it's been a pleasure to speak with OneDigital about protecting Virginia County's health, welfare, and financial benefits. Thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Dean. It's been a pleasure, and we are honored to be a partner of VACo.